Hey everybody, BK Adams here. Today I want to create a Mighty Protectors vehicle. I'm just going to read what the rules say about it. It says the character owns a specially designed transportation vessel which can travel around freely and may also be equipped with additional abilities. The specific abilities of each vehicle depend on the systems that are installed within it. Systems are allocated in 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch system spaces. I'm going to start off and I'm going to give the vehicle 20 points, 20 character points. Since I'm using the official Mighty Protectors vehicle record sheet, all of the math stuff is figured out for you. The number of system spaces, profile, weight, mass, hits, power, and stats are all figured out automatically. Now for 20 points, you get 32 system spaces. And the first thing I want to do is I want to make this vehicle high-tech. Now just like you can give abilities modifiers, you can give a vehicle modifiers, and one of those modifiers is called high-tech / precision engineering. It says for each +5 adjustment to the total cost of the vehicle, add +5 character points to each of its systems without affecting their size or hits. So I've gone ahead and added that to the sheet. Now the other thing I want to do when it comes to vehicle modifiers is I want to make this vehicle more maneuverable than a standard vehicle. And this is called maneuverability increase. The character may increase the vehicle's maneuverability for a cost adjustment of +5 per +1 to its turning rate. And if I look at the sheet, so I've gone ahead and filled it in, and if you look at the sheet, there is a column for maneuverability. And the default is 3 down here, but once we add a 1, it goes to a 4. Next thing I want to talk about is vehicle armor. Vehicles have a default structural rating of 3. Additional vehicle armor should be purchased as an integral system. And it says see vehicle system modifiers below. This system spaces don't appear on the vehicle's deck plans and can't be attacked, but they are still deducted from the vehicle's available system spaces and still count toward the vehicle's overall weight, profile, etc. Have the number of character points generated by an integral system. So what this does, like I said, normally 4 system spaces gives you 15 points, but we have high tech, which adds to that. So that 15 points becomes 20 character points. But it's also, we want it to be integral armor. And what integral does is it halves that 20 character points to 10. So I've gone ahead and just filled it in. What this does, this integral armor will add to our default armor of 3. So that becomes 5, kinetic becomes 5, energy becomes 5, and biochemical becomes 4, and entropy becomes 4. So before I go on, I should probably talk about profile, because the base vehicle has a profile and each individual system has a profile. And if you look at the rules, it says profile, this is used to adjust range penalties on attacks against the vehicle, and it says see section 4.7.3.1. Basically, the bigger it is, the easier it is to hit. That's what profile means. So next up, I want to give this vehicle 4 system spaces devoted to invulnerability to sharp kinetic damage. And I'll go ahead and do that. So I've gone ahead and filled out the lines. Again, 4 system spaces gives us 15, but we have high tech, that makes it 20. but it's integral, so that 20 is halved to 10. And for 10 character points of invulnerability, I can make it invulnerable to a damage subtype of sharp kinetic. So bullets, swords, arrows, things like that. Anything that's sharp kinetic, this vehicle has a coating on it that cannot be attacked, but it makes the vehicle invulnerable to that type of damage. Next up, I want to give this vehicle automation, and I want to make it integral. And what automation is, well, I'll just read it. Automation increases a vehicle's agility score and therefore its agility save and handling modifier. Each CP worth of automation gives the vehicle +1 CP of agility. So here I filled in the line, and if we come over to the right side of the sheet, I'll put in 10 agility. And what that did is it increased the agility from a 9 to a 19, the agility save from a 10 to a 12, and the handling from a 0 to a 2, and it also increased the power from 63 to 73. Next up, I've gone ahead and given this vehicle 4 system spaces for performance, which is also integral. Performance increases a vehicle's cool score and therefore its cool save and initiative roll. Each CP worth of performance gives the vehicle +1 CP of cool. So I've gone ahead and filled out the sheet, and again, for 4 system spaces, the base points are 15, but we have high tech, which makes it 20, but it's integral, which means it can't be attacked and doesn't show up on the vehicle's floor plans. And I'll go ahead and add 10 cool, and our vehicle's initiative roll went to a die +1, its cool went to a 19, and its cool save went to a 12-11. So now I've got 16 system spaces of integral systems, which means they don't show up on the floor plan. That leaves 16 system spaces that do show up on the floor plan. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fill those spaces with a gray color. And so our vehicle is going to be 5 feet wide and 20 feet long. And then I'm going to fill up these 16 system spaces with different systems. Now the first system I want to give it is Light Control A laser, and I didn't write the whole thing in because there's only so much room. And I'm going to put it on the front of the vehicle. I'm going to color code it red. So with 20 CPs of laser, that if someone were to try to target this laser, because it is on the vehicle layout, right? It has a profile of 2, so it's bigger than man size, so it's easier to hit at range, and it's got 16 hit points. So if it takes over half of 16, that means it's disabled. Now I want to talk about system arcs, because by default vehicle systems for which directionality is relevant have a 120-degree arc, horizontally and vertically. And then you're supposed to say, you know, which way does this face? Is it forward, back, diagonal, etc.? But what I've done for this particular system, this laser system, is I've given it a wide arc. So for +5 points, it now has a 240-degree arc, which could come in handy. So if you see on the sheet, wide arc, 240 degrees +5. I also made its power cost higher than the normal. Normally laser costs 1 power per shot. I made it 3 power, so it balances out. Now again, this says 15 for 4 system spaces. It says 15 points, but remember this vehicle has high tech, so it's actually got 20 character points to work with. So next up, I want to give this vehicle two system spaces of heightened senses, which I'm going to use green as the color for it. I've gone ahead and filled out the line, and it is amplified sight. It ignores 1 level of darkness. so you can see perfectly fine when it's dark. And I've also made it global, so this thing has cameras in the front, the left, the rear, the right, and the rear, as well as the top and the bottom. So next up, I want to talk about control seats, and I'll just read what it says. It says every vehicle requires a control seat unless it has a robot brain. See below. A control seat occupies one system space. Additional control seats may be installed as co-pilot or secondary command stations. The vehicle can be controlled from any of its control seats. And then it goes on to say, if desired, the character may establish a hierarchy of authority so that backup control seats can't override commands from higher priority control seats. So really, I'm just going to put a D for driver. Now that's the control seat for this vehicle. It's not going to have any other control seats. Now later I am going to give it a robot brain, but not yet. And next to the driver's seat, I'm going to put a passenger seat. So next up, I want to give the vehicle 2 system spaces of communicators. And I've gone ahead and filled out the lines. This communicator, there's 2 units. There's one in the vehicle and there's one the driver can carry with them. And it has GPS scanning, an 80-mile range, and it's encrypted, and it has a PR cost of 2 per hour. But it also says you can have power instead of charges. It says if an ability is described as having a certain number of charges, you can give it a PR instead by switching between the charges column and the PR column on the table below. So communicators normally have 12 one-hour charges, but I want to give it a power cost of 2 per hour, and that's where this chart comes from. Since I'm just looking across, there is no cost adjustment. So the cost adjustment is 0, and instead of 12 charges, 12 one-hour charges, it's got a PR cost of 2 per hour, which will be deducted from the vehicle's power. All right. So now I want to give this vehicle 1 system space of robot brain. I've already filled in the line, and if we go over to the section next to this, robot brain adds 10 intelligence, and I've gone ahead and added it. So the intelligence went from a 0 to a 10, and it now has a 10 or less intelligence save, and the power went up by 10 as well. And I'll go ahead and read the section on robot brain. It says robot brains are systems that enable a vehicle to operate independently. A robot brain may be installed as a backup to the control seat where it can function as an autopilot, or installed without a driver's seat, making the vehicle a true independently functioning robot. Each CP worth of robot brain gives vehicle plus 1 CP of intelligence. And also says vehicle's BC scores may not exceed the owner's BC cap. So that's what I've done. So instead of being, an autopilot, this is actually going to be it almost is turning this vehicle into a robot. So I've gone ahead and used purple. That's where the robot brain is going to be on the vehicle layout. What it means is, just like Iron Man communicates with Jarvis, and Jarvis does all sorts of things for him, this character with his vehicle can do something similar. He can, using his communicator, or if he's in the vehicle, he can talk to the robot brain, right? Because it's got intelligence. And it can. So next up, I want to give this vehicle 1 system space of invisibility. Again, 1 system space is 5 character points, but because it's high tech, that becomes 10 character points, which I can spend on invisibility of just normal vision, and it costs 1 power per round. And I'll go ahead and put that on the layout. I'll use yellow as the color. So the last 4 system spaces I'm going to devote to speed. So that's going to give us 20 character points, which is, if you look at the speed ability, that's a 128/512 or 174 miles per hour with a power cost of 1 per hour. and I'm going to go ahead and fill out the layout. I'll use orange, and that's what it looks like. So we're almost done. The last thing I want to talk about is vehicle power systems, and I'll just read what it says. It says each vehicle has its own supply of power points to maintain its minor systems, interior lights, powered sliding doors, cigarette lighters, and so on, and also to provide power for use by any of its systems which also have a power requirement, and this vehicle has some of those. It also says vehicles receive points of power equal to the total of their strength, endurance, agility, and intelligence scores. And then lastly, it says each time a vehicle system expends power, it's deducted from the vehicle's total power. All of the vehicle's minor systems taken together also have a PR of 1 per hour. So on the sheet, I just say minor power systems 1 per hour. So per hour, this vehicle is going to use 1 for minor power systems, lights, doors, etc. 1 per hour for its speed. Communications is 2 per hour. So 1 and 1 and 2, it's going to use 4 power per hour. So essentially it can go about 20 hours before it needs to refuel. And then it talks about when you run out of power, it says when a vehicle's power supply reaches 0, all of its systems stop working. And then it says under refueling, it says a vehicle's power is restored by refueling wherever a suitable energy source is available, or else by installing a regeneration system that restores power. Now I didn't put a regeneration system in it, so it's going to have to be refueled normally. And then it says refueling takes whatever amount of time the GM deems necessary. Larger vehicles tend to take more time to resupply. So this is, basically the size of a normal car. So it takes, a normal car probably takes about 5 minutes to refuel. So I've gone ahead and I've just labeled all the systems. They're color coded so they're easier to see. I'll go ahead and protect the sheet. I've gone ahead and just given it a name of example land vehicle, and I will put a link to this sheet so you can download it and look at it at your leisure. Hope you guys enjoy the vehicle. Catch you next time.